Through this letter, I want to express my deep pain as the mother of Michael Byers Jr. I cannot accept the freedom of the individual who ran over my son, causing him a tragic and irreversible death. He is unaware of the unimaginable damage he has inflicted, especially on me. To this day, my heart remains shattered by the loss of my son, and every memory of what John Reese told me about the accident haunts me. The day following the accident, early in the morning, I went to the accident site and saw John Reese there, posing as a witness. Not knowing who he was, I thanked him for the information, completely unaware I was speaking to the man that had destroyed my life. He recounted everything as if nothing happened.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a man who struck and killed 19-year-old riding a bicycle, and he did this while he was out on bond. He then left the scene and really pretended he wasn't involved, and it was an eyewitness that took a picture of the plate that ended up getting him arrested. Now, we will unpack it with the details at the end. I also want to announce that Connecticut has brought on a new full-time board member, and we are going to hear from him today. And he comes from law enforcement, having over 20 years in the department as a lieutenant with a very impressive career. We'll unpack that at the end as well. With that, let's jump in.
State your name and inmate number for the record.
First name John, last name Reese, inmate number 348-595.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for John Reese, inmate number 348-595. He is serving a sentence of 12 years, execution suspended after 5 years, 4 years probation for evading responsibility and violation of probation or new line offense of attempted assault theft. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of November 22nd, 2023. There is victim input in this case. The inmate was heard by the board on September 8, 2023. He was denied parole. The new hearing date was set for September 2024. The board recommended that the inmate complete choices, good intention, bad choices, and any additional positive programming and to remain ER-free. Since his last hearing, the offender has completed the following programs. He has maintained his employment in the kitchen, has completed Tier 2, voices, and C-card. He is currently participating in Smart Recovery and is mentoring in the Tier 2 program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score for risk of recidivism falls within the moderate range. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin, Mr. Reese.
In 2020, I was involved in an accident which cost a young man named Michael his life. So I do empathize with the victim parents. I do understand the hurt and pain that I did cause them over the past few years. I want to apologize for my actions. I did play a part in this accident. No parent should have to bury their child. I wish there was another outcome when this young man was here with us today. He didn't deserve this. When I realized I struck Michael, I panicked. I was stressed, depressed, hurt, confused. I misunderstood what the investigating officer said to me, and I left the scene. I denied the fact that I had any involvement in this accident because I was too busy pointing the finger at the first driver and not managing what I have done, or was I actively listening because I couldn't believe I heard an innocent human being. For the past few years, I've been working on myself physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. I picked up the Bible, started reading on a daily basis, which helped me start reading self-help books and listening to motivational podcasts. I learned the triple three rule, which helped me to think 3 seconds, 3 minutes, 3 weeks from now before reacting to any negative situation. Also learned to examine my behavior towards drug and alcohol use. I learned to express my feelings and emotions and not keep them bottled up inside. I avoid arguing, pointing the finger, and blaming others, and I take responsibility for my actions. I also make sure I get clarification before leaving any crime scene. I encourage one another. I'm being supportive. I let love in. I communicate with respect now. And I didn't take these programs just for certification, but for transformation, for the victim and the victim's family. I am a mentor, as y'all know already. And what I learned from Voice is how I hurt and harm the victim family, and my community as well as my family. I do apologize for my actions. I did play a part in this accident. I wish there was another outcome where this young man was here with us today, because he sincerely did not deserve this. And I thank the board of pardon for giving me a second opportunity today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reese, for your opening statement. I appreciate your expressing remorse for the victims and accepting responsibility for your actions. I also appreciate your doing what we asked you to last time. I was on your original panel, and you did follow through with our recommendations. So I commend you on your efforts thus far. You've been before the board before. You're welcome. And so what's going to happen today is, again, we'll all take turns asking you questions, but today we have victim input on your case. So we'll turn the hearing over to the victim's advocate when we are done, and then we will deliberate and give you our decision, okay?
Okay.
I just want to state for the record that the state's attorney, they objected the last time to your being released early, and they are objecting again.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
Understandable.
Best of luck to you, sir. Mr.
Yes.
Rodriguez, we'll start with the
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Reese, thank you so much for your opening statement. You didn't have it prepared in writing, but you did a nice job speaking, and it felt really from the heart for me. And I appreciate you accepting responsibility for this. It was a tragic accident that happened, that took a life, and that family is going to continue to suffer probably forever with this loss. Yeah. I noticed in reading your documentation that the previous panel had originally denied your application, struggled with bringing you back. But when they decided to, they wanted you to take some additional programming. Can you talk to us a little bit about the program that you've taken and how that has prepared you for transition back out into the community?
Oh, I don't have any involvement with the old people, places, and things. So I'm willing to make new memories and just get my life back on track. I want to do, and I'm doing this for the family because you know what they're going through is forever. So I suffer every day because I know what they're going through is forever. So it's like I'm doing this for them. And what I've learned is change and be humble.
That's what I want you to talk about. I want you to talk about what that change is, what that change looks like. What that change looks like.
Well, for one, it's not dealing with old people, places, and things, and being humble, patient, walking away from any negative activity, and I enjoy helping people. So that's what change has been for me, helping others, reading positive books. So
you talked about doing some mentorship. Talk to me about what who you've been mentoring and how those things are going. What's been your kind of message to those that you've been mentoring?
Oh, I always tell the brothers, people to stay positive, pray, read, work out, journal. And it has been working for a lot of innovators. And journaling is like the biggest thing we've been doing. So, and I try to tell them to don't be too hard on yourself. Let love in, self-love and things like that.
Okay. Talk a little bit about your release plan. What you're thinking about, what's going to be your goals when you finally do get released?
Well, when I'm released, I already have a job waiting for me at the moving company, and I will be trying to go back to Northeast Building Supply to be a yardsman. I was a yard foreman before I was incarcerated, but I know I can be a yardsman, so they're willing to rehire me. And I want to go back to school to be an electrician, to become so I could start my own business. And that was my goal before, and I'm sticking to the same goals. So that's my plans when I'm let back into society.
Yeah, I saw. We did receive the letters. I did see the letters in your files from the Northeast Company, That was very positive. You had a couple of other very positive, supportive reference letters that you got about who you are and integrity and stuff. And but I don't know. I'd like you to just kind of, what about your substance abuse? What are you going to be doing about a relapse plan as part of your relapse, as part of your release?
Oh, when I release, so using or having any urges that's the least of my worries. If I do have any urges or anything, I'll call my mentor from CCAR. My mentor, Sean Moore, and I'll call my recovery coach from CCAR and ask for help. But using as of right now, that's the last thing on my list. That's not even on my list, actually.
You know, I'm going to suggest you keep it on your list because you don't know what can happen on the outside. Things are still very stressful on the outside for a lot of folks, and coming out may not be as easy. You've got probation to have to deal with when you come out, so you're still going to have some supervision going on when you do finally come out. I would suggest that you don't minimize the significance and importance of the work that you got to continue to do, even on the outside, because in recovery, the relapse is always right around the corner.
That is true.
Depending on what what curves life puts you on. So I'd like you to kind of keep that in mind. I mean, it looks as if you've done the programming that folks have asked you to do, and I don't really have a whole lot more questions for you this morning. I appreciate you answering my questions.
Thank you.
Again, I think this was a tragic accident. I appreciate you again taking responsibility for what happened.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. So, Mr. Reese, again, I was on your original panel, and you heard myself and my other two colleagues at your last hearing discussing whether or not we wanted to bring you back. You remember that? Do you recall that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And part of the reason was because we believe that the sentence that was handed down to you was in line with it was very lenient, honestly, given the tragedy that was caused. And I think part of the reason we wanted to rehear you was because you sound so motivated and you really were working diligently on changing yourself. And so I'm happy to hear and I'm happy to see that you remained on that positive path. And I understand that being denied is not an easy thing, because I know everyone in there wants to go home. But our jobs are to return those people that have shown a significant amount of change, as well as that they're suitable to go out into the community. So, and honestly, I really do think that you have changed. In listening to you in your opening statement, I was concerned that you keep saying that you're doing the programs for the victim. That might be offensive to them. And I know that you mean well with that statement, but the programming is not for them. The programs are for you. You should not want to commit another crime or create more victims, especially after the pain and the harm that you've caused this family. So going out and doing better should be for yourself primarily, and then to show the victims that you can be successful out in the community, if that is what you mean.
That's what sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Sorry, I know that's what you meant, but that's not how it came out,
Gotcha.
And, the victims are never going to be okay with this, ever. Ever. I mean, if someone did this to your loved one, how would you feel?
I feel the same way as they are, as the victim families feel.
I mean, in 5 years for a life, Mr. Reese it really was a gift. So you've received some considerable consideration. I know those are the same words, but you really have. And I'm so happy, though, that you are on the straight and narrow, and that you are making better decisions, and that you are accepting accountability for your actions, all the things that we would want to hear. I'm happy to hear that you're doing those. So I don't want to negate the work that you've done, but I just want you to understand that the last time that we had this hearing, there was no victim input. And I can't imagine today that they're going to say, we'll go on, let them go out. But we take that statement into consideration as well. But please don't let this discourage you. Whatever the outcome of today is, don't be discouraged, and continue moving forward. And I guess I didn't have any questions for you, but I just wanted to say those few things to you. Mr. Kasauskas.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Reese.
Morning.
My colleagues have asked most of the questions, and I've read through your file, so I just have a couple things. I noticed reading your file, you have a record of community release failures in the past. In fact, that
Yes.
I think you were on probation when this happened, right?
Yes.
Okay. So can you tell us what will be different this time and what your plan is to complete parole or your probation successfully so that we're not back in this situation again? What's different now from those previous community releases?
Well, my last when I violated the last probation, I was almost done. I had like 2 or 3 months, I believe, before the case went back in front of the judge. And I was happy for myself before this case happened. And, and what I've done last time was work. I was working every day, and I will continue to work every day. And if and my plan is to go to school, I understand it's hard in today's society, but I will continue to fight and do everything I've learned here. I will take it into society and use it and use the tools out there. But I'll do whatever I have to do to stay up. But trust me, this is it. I'm tired of this place. I don't like this place, but I do everything I have to do to stay positive and continue to meditate and pray. But I'm done. This is it. I'm telling you.
Okay, the only other thing I had, Mr. Reese, was as you're preparing to get ready to either be on probation or parole, have you looked into what's going on with your driver's license? What's the status of your driver's license right now?
I just paid for suspension, and they took it out of suspension, and I just got it reinstated last week. So it's active right now.
All right, Madam Chair, those are all the questions I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, Mr. Reese, we're going to turn the hearing over to our victim's advocate, Mrs. Williams, and we ask that you please not speak. You may listen, but please don't interrupt. Okay, thank you. Good morning, Ms. Williams.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, panel. I do see that the sister of the victim has joined us, and she will be addressing the board today, reading a statement from herself as well as the mother of the victim. If you can hear me, you may unmute at this time and begin with your statement. And when you are done, please mute again.
Okay. I will be reading a letter for myself and for my mother. To the honorable members of the parole board. My name is Fabiana, and I am Michael's sister. On Friday, November 6, 2020, our family lives were forever changed when we lost Michael due to the reckless and preventable actions of John Reese. His tragedy was not just an accident, it was a profound event that devastated our family, leaving us to navigate a future altered in ways we never expected. The impact of that day continues to resonate deeply within our lives and hearts. No words can truly capture the pain and suffering we have endured since the day. Michael was a vibrant soul, full of life and promise at 19 years of age, with dreams that will never be realized. The void left by his absence is immeasurable, making it feel at times unbearable to move forward. My family and I struggle daily with grief, anger, and overwhelming sense of loss. Every milestone, birthday, holiday, family gathering is now overshadowed by the absence. by his absence. My mother continues to struggle with clinical depression and grief, a journey that remains ongoing, and has led her to seek support through medication. I find myself worrying about her daily and fearing for her well-being should John Reese be released early. Meanwhile, Michael's father often avoids discussing the tragedy, and I often fear he will never find closure. In the wake of this loss, I have taken on a significant role and responsibilities to support my family, which has weighed heavily on me and affected my personal and professional life. I would like to emphasize that John Reese went missing after the accident and chose to evade cooperation with the police, which resulted in a lengthy 2-year criminal process marked with uncertainty and anguish for my family. John Reese was arrested on August 13, 2021, approximately 9 months after the accident, and was sentenced on November 30th, 2022. The emotional toll had been staggering, leading me to incur significant costs related to professional therapy and medical procedures brought on by grief, depression, and stress. Every time we pass the accident site, we are overwhelmed with tears, painful reminders that it is impossible to avoid in our daily lives since it's within a mile of my parents' home. The situation further was exaggerated when the driver approached my mother the day after the accident, an act that was not only disgraceful, but also deeply re-traumatizing for my dear mother. I want to make it very clear that John's actions have had a lasting and permanent impact on our lives. His choices that day and the aftermath stripped our family of peace, security, and a sense of safety. The emotional and financial hardship we face are profound. No sentence can ever restore what we have lost with Michael's death. In seeking justice for the reckless act, we firmly believe he must serve the entire 5-year sentence. Today, I respectfully request that the parole board deny any request for parole. The loss of my brother is something that can never be undone, and the person responsible for this tragedy must be held accountable to the full extent of the law. Granting parole would undermine the severity of the crime and the profound impact it has had on my family and the community. If the board chooses to grant release, I request stringent conditions to be imposed, including a mandatory mental health evaluation and treatment. It is critical that John Reese undergo a comprehensive mental health evaluation followed with any recommendations for treatment. Protective order. My family and I request a protective order to be placed against John Reese to ensure that we are not contacted or threatened in any way, nor in the future. The trauma and fear caused by the accident has left lasting scars, and we deserve the peace of mind that comes from knowing we will not be further contacted. Suspended driver's license. We request his license be suspended, and upon suspension expiration, he undergo driving courses prior to maintaining a valid driver's license in Connecticut and outside Connecticut. For clarity, John Reese has had numerous charges in the past related to motor vehicles, including but not limited to DUI, and we believe he has not learned how to be a safe driver. Probation. We highly recommend stringent conditions upon probation, although I frankly do not believe he will adhere to these given his history. He's a repeat offender, and the multiple violations of probation offense charges in his lengthy criminal history. Restitution. We also request that there's restitution be made to our family for the financial burdens we face due to the tragedy, including funeral expenses and any other costs with my brother's untimely death. In conclusion, I ask the parole to remember the life of my brother, Michael Bias Jr., a life cruelly and unjustly taken from us. I ask you to please consider the profound loss and the ongoing suffering our family has endured when making your decision. Thank you for your time and understanding in this sensitive matter. That was a letter by myself, and I have a letter for my mother. I don't know if I should read now or pause.
Yep.
Okay.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Translated to English. To whom it may concern. Through this letter, I want to express my deep pain as the mother of Michael Bias Jr. I cannot accept the freedom of the individual who ran over my son, causing him a tragic and irreversible death. He is unaware of the unimaginable damage he has inflicted, especially on me. To this day, my heart remains shattered by the loss of my son, and every memory of what John Reese told me about the accident haunts me. The day following the accident, early in the morning, I went to the accident site and saw John Reese there, posing as a witness. Not knowing who he was, I thanked him for the information, completely unaware I was speaking to the man that had destroyed my life. He recounted everything as if nothing happened. And as I relive and am reminded of that moment, I feel coercive rage, especially when having thanked him. I feel as if he mocked me, my pain, and the wound that will never heal. When I returned home and saw him on television, my world crumbled. I felt so awful that I was on the brink of losing my mind. It's a nightmare to know that someone like him walks freely among us. All of this caused me immense pain. It is not fair that he has freedom, even though I know nothing can bring back my son. Not even if he were to spend his entire life in prison, could that alleviate my suffering. All I ask is that he serve the full sentence, which does not even begin to reflect the crime he committed. I also suggest that he undergo a psychological evaluation because he is not a normal person, nor fit to be in our society. I hope the laws are just and that the pain we endured is recognized. The situation is a burden too heavy to bear. Sincerely, Dora Bice.
Thank you very much for that statement, for those statements.
Of course.
Thank you so much, panel.
Are those the only statements, Mrs. Williams?
Yes, that's it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Reese, we're going to deliberate and then we'll give you our decision, okay? Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this is a tragic accident. Life was taken. You heard from the victim statements, the impact that it's had on this family. They're very passionate about the impact. One can see the difficulty in dealing with the loss of a loved one. Based on what we've heard today. And this case is challenging because, in fact, he was here before, was asked to do something. And in fact, he followed through the recommendations of the panel at that particular point in time. So I'm very challenged at this moment, kind of conflicted in making a decision in this. I'd like to hear from you, Madam Chair, who was really part of the previous panel. For me, it seems as if Mr. Reese has really worked toward making some changes. I outlined a few of the things that he talked about. He completed his programming that he was asked to do, and in fact, served as a mentor for individuals and talked about his mentorship and what he shared with them. He accepted full responsibility early on and talked about his remorse in this and the loss. And in fact, you asked him about if he lost his daughter, how he would feel now, how he reacted, and he shared that information. He has the promise of employment upon leaving, which we don't always see when we're even talking about releasing someone out of the community. So you know, I want to be able to hear what you think about this in terms of your thing about. Before I make my final decision on this, but for me, he's been doing the work that he was asked to do. He has not received any DRs in that year that he's been there. He previously he had, but he has not. Because for me, he appears to be working what he was supposed to do.
I agree with you, Mr. Rodriguez. You know, and when the panel does hear these people and they decide to rehear them, it's almost as if really yeah. I don't, can you just ask the officer? Can you just open that door and just ask them? Just yeah. No, it's in the facility. It's the officers behind it. Yeah, they're there. I apologize. Hi, we can hear your conversation in the back, and it's kind of distracting. So can you just?
My apologies. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So as I was saying, when we deny these offenders and we have them returned to us, it's almost as if we feel obligated that, you know, to release them, especially if they complied with our requests. And I think that oftentimes the offenders really feel like, okay, if they denied me and if I come back, they're going to let me out. But that's not always the case. That's not what it is. There are no guarantees. And, you know, I really do appreciate that he's been compliant in the facility since his last hearing, and he has been able to participate in the program, but that stuff is not for us. That stuff is for him. And I said that to him. And to hear the victims speak about what they lost, and I think that we recognized that at the first hearing, because we grappled with having him come back, but he sounds so motivated and he really did do a great job. with his opening statement, with answering our questions, and with his program participation. So this is not new to me as a member that was on his original panel. So I think that Mr. Reese has done a great job, and I think that he will continue to do a great job. But as the victims said in their statements, this sentence, will never bring back their son. However, it does give them some validation or some security in the system that he got his 5 years, he should serve his 5 years. So my position is to deny him again. And based on the nature and circumstance of the offense and the injury and impact to the victim. That's my position. Mr. Kozlowskis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, certainly the victim's statement from their family is very compassionate. And I agree, Mr. Reese has done a good job and is making some changes in his life to prepare himself to be successful and crime-free when he's ready to be released. The sentence was light in this case, and someone lost their life. It's very serious and tragic. And Madam Chair, I agree with you that I'm not ready at this point to grant parole.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate both of your inputs. And I again want to acknowledge the work that Mr. Reese has done.
Doesn't negate
during this time. You can't negate really trying to do what's best. The challenge, of course, is the nature of this offense. The definite impact to the victim's family in this, and as you pointed out, they're very passionate about what the impact has really been to them and the loss that they really suffered in this. So I appreciate both of your input in this, and I'm also going to be denying his discretionary parole today for basically the same reason: nature and circumstance of the arrest, the injury and impact to the victim, the fact that the offense was committed while on probation as well.
She said he was doing well on probation, but so I mean, the nature of the underlying offense is very concerning as well. But he was doing well up until this point, and I did make notes of his performance. He was doing well. He was on transitional supervision out there, and he for 9 months, and he was doing well. I mean, so I don't know if I would necessarily.
That's fine. I'm going to agree with the interest of this injury and impact. It's family. But again, I want to really stress again that I think Mr. Reese is doing well. And I hope that he continues to do the work that he's doing for himself.
Yeah. This job is not an easy job. It's there's going to be, everyone's not going to be happy with our decisions. And the only thing that we can do is our best to try to make the best decisions that we can. And based on the information that we reviewed, I think we knew from the beginning that this was really going to be. Yeah. So we're ready with our official decision. With regard to John Reese, 348595, I move that he be denied discretionary parole based on the nature and circumstance of his offense and the injury and impact to the victim. Mr. Reese will not have a new hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Reese, again, you've heard the comments. Keep up the good work, sir, and we do wish you the best. We wish you well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, family.
Please send me 34859.
Who else is just feeling like totally shocked that there was a denial? I mean, how often have we seen parole hearings where they just don't take any of that into account, where they don't say, well, he took a life, so 5 years sounds appropriate. You should do all 5 years. We don't hear that in Connecticut. So it's like, I know for me, I'm just like, what? They denied? Wow. What am I going to yell about? It's like, it's I don't know. I don't know why they changed their minds. Keep in mind, they had every reason to make an excuse to grant him. They saw him already for parole before we started recording, or I'd bring it to you. And they said, come back. He took the programs. He didn't get write-ups. He had a pretty, an okay interview. we've seen much worse, I'll tell you that. And they still denied. God bless them making the right decision. I mean, now the interesting thing about this crime, and they didn't like bring it up, they didn't challenge it. This was like Louisiana, depending on who the board. Definitely, I think they would have dug in. They would have said, "Well, tell us what happened that night," because so, and I'll read it to you. Thank you, Sir Richard, for all the info. But I'll just share with you so you have some background. Is that the 19-year-old was first struck by, I think it was a 2004 Cadillac. He fell into the street, and only then did John Richard slam into him and kill him. Now, he stopped, spoke to first responders, but claimed that he was just a witness, not involved, and then he left the scene. Witnesses later said that, hey, he's the one who hit him. And then the police came to his house and they actually did DNA and they had to get a warrant. And he did this while he was on bond. Okay, he was out on bond, and we'll get into that. But to add additional information to this case, witnesses at the scene were waving at his car and saying, "Stop, stop." It wasn't like it was a bang, bang. They said that they were saying, "Stop, stop driving." And he didn't, for whatever reason. So it was a preventable accident. And I wouldn't be surprised if the police and others thought, well, maybe he was under some type of substance abuse, because why else did he flee the scene? Because if he did not flee the scene, he wouldn't, I don't think, and he was sober, he's not getting prison time, in my opinion. So, but, you know, he had the, you might say the audacity or something. He sued, Sir Richard found this, he sued the city of Stamford on 12/6/2023. He sued them. It's interesting. This is a lawsuit filed by John Reese against the city of Stamford. Plaintiff is currently serving a 5-year sentence for evading responsibility after a fatal car accident. He alleges that the city's failure to properly light the street caused the accident and is now seeking relief. And then it's interesting. They go on to say, as part of his complaint, he seeks damages for the pain and suffering, including the emotional damage he experienced. And then the city goes on to say, it is unclear whether the plaintiff is referring to the pain and suffering he experienced as a result of the accident or from being imprisoned as a consequence. In any event, he sought and was granted leave to proceed in forma Paris or IFP, meaning that he was permitted to begin his case without paying the customary filing fee. And they basically dismissed it as frivolous. Court examines his complaint, dismisses any claim that is frivolous or malicious, fails to state claim on which relief may be granted, seeks monetary relief. It's like, can you imagine killing someone, getting a 5-year sentence, and then suing the city? I mean, it's just that's just mind-blowing to me. But so okay. He gets 5 years in prison for killing bicyclists in 2020. 19-year-old boy. You just can't make this stuff up. John pled guilty to evading responsibility and death, violation of probation. And violation of probation. He was sentenced the same day to 12 years in prison, suspended after 5, followed by 4 years of probation. Police said the charges of violation of probation stemmed from an assault arrest. The fatal crash occurred at 10:30 p.m. November 6. The cyclist, 19-year-old city resident, was hit by a vehicle, throwing him off the bike and onto the road. A short time later, a 2006 Infiniti approached the area, and despite witnesses asking the operator to stop the vehicle, he continued and struck him on the ground, causing fatal injuries. Police said Reese was behind the wheel of the Infiniti and initially stopped and spoke with first responding officers, but denied involvement in the crash. He then left the scene, but a witness was able to get a photograph of Reese's license plate, and he was soon apprehended. He continued to deny involvement when questioned later that night, according to police. Authorities seized the Infiniti and through their investigation obtained a warrant for Reese's arrest, charging him with misconduct with the motor vehicle and felony evading responsibility. Boo said he contacted Reese, who claimed he would turn himself in, but did not, but himself in, but never did, and was not located for 6 months. So he went on the run for 6 months. Can you imagine? You're on bond. You then you evade. They get a search warrant. They get your DNA, and then you disappear for 6 months, and they still only give a 5-year sentence. That's pretty crazy. And then he sees the city. I mean, after he saw Bruce again, and you heard that what he did is he went the next day and spoke to the mother. It's like there's so much more to this that is just. So let's go over his record, and then we'll check out the new parole board member who so far, I mean, I've this is the first hearing that I'm bringing to you. Maybe you've seen others with him by the time you see this, but so far so good. And I wonder if it's an attempt to get. I don't think he replaced anyone. I think he's just new in the roster. I think that's what Richard said. They've been behind. So he has an arrest in 2015 for interfering with an officer resisting arrest. He has an arrest in November of 2016 for attempt to commit assault second degree. He was given a 5-year jail, suspended after 2, probation 3. Then he violated his probation 11/30/2022. That was this one. He has March 30th, 2018, illegal operation of a motor vehicle. Suspended license, I think is what it was. He has, and then he has this one, the death of, I remember that Connecticut only goes back 10 years. So it's not a long record though. And so here's the bio of our new parole board member. Isn't it interesting how they kind of all sound the same? They got like the same accent. It's hard to tell. Okay. At least the men. It's hard to tell for me. So Mr. Cizaskis was appointed to the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles as a full-time member in August 2024. He comes to the board having retired from the Waterbury Police Department as a lieutenant after 20 years of service. During his career, he was assigned to the Patrol Division, Vice Intelligence Division, Detective Division, Stewart, Statewide Narcotic Task Force, and Police Activity League. He's also served as Torrington Police Officer and as a sergeant with the Connecticut Army National Guard. He most recently worked as Director of Campus Safety at the Taft School. You probably make good money doing that job. Mr. Cizaskis has earned an associate's degree in criminal justice, Valley Community College, and bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Charter. He is honored to use his education, training, experience to serve his community. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, to see if he's going to bring a little bit more toughness to the parole board, much needed toughness and fairness. And anyways,
is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Mr. David Davis, inmate number 317744, who is serving a total effective sentence of 12 years, execution suspended after 6 years, followed by 5 years probation, and this for the charge of sale of narcotic substance. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of April 15th, 2024. And this is at 50% eligibility. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for this offender, which has been reviewed and shows that the offender has completed addiction services tier 2 and also voices. The offender remains on the Department of Correction waiting list for 5 or 7 day job assignment and vocational need to be assessed. This is according to the RT3M query that I ran. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls within the high range of risk for recidivism. All right, Mr. Davis, this is your opportunity now to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
I take full responsibility for my actions. I'm taking accountability for that. I know that my hardships and suffering been self-inflicted for my wrongdoing. I know that I've been contributing to the drug use in the community. I accept and I acknowledge that, and that's from through my misdeeds. Just the friction amongst family and friends is due to my wrongdoings as well. I admit to that, but I know I'm much more focused. I know it's a new version of me. I know I'm more determined. I know that I have to accept not just, the negative way of looking at working. I got to work more than 40 hours. I got to work 60 plus hours. I got 2 jobs set up. So I know like I got to stay focused on that, working 60 plus hours. I'm looking to do the real estate. I'm looking to do life coaching because I feel I have something to offer with that. I feel I can share like through my mishaps and my experiences. I feel I could share some advice on that through the teaching of just going through what I went through. I can teach other people that. So just I feel that that this is enough is enough. Basically for me, enough is enough. Enough is enough. The maturity is there. The mental growth is there. I know I had a poor thinking habits. I know I had poor thinking patterns, bad habits. I feel I eliminated that. I feel there's more cultivation as far as mentally knowing that I just gotta not do them things that I was doing in the past. I can't do them things anymore. So I just gotta just stay the course of just working, doing my going to school, completing these life coach course, completing the real estate course, and just do that.
All right, Mr. Davis, thank you for your statement. We're going to ask you questions, okay? And then we'll deliberate and give you our decision. We'll begin with my colleague, Ms. Palmieri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Mr. Davis, it was very interesting listening to your opening statement. I mean, you sound like a man who has had an epiphany, seen the light, you know what you need to do. When I got done reading all the information about your offense, I made a note to myself that it seems like selling drugs is your go-to for all your financial troubles, and that really you can do jail without much difficulty at all. Because you were on special parole when you got arrested on these new charges, 4 drug charges, correct?
Yes.
How long were you out on special parole from your last sentence?
Close to 3 years.
3 years? And, by my read of your file, you have skills, you have a trade. You were working on your HVAC licensing. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. How much further did you have to go?
I had to do some apprentice hours, but I never got to do that because I found another job driving trucks. So I was doing a job driving a van from Naugatuck to Massachusetts at different depots. So I didn't have the time to finish the apprenticeship.
Okay. And you went back to selling drugs, and I have in quotes, you must have said due to tough times.
Just I just feel sometimes I don't know. That's like the independency part of it. Like I'm working. I don't have an issue working. It's not the issue working. It's just finding a job. Is putting in the hours. Like I said, like I know, like just talking to people amongst family and friends. I know it's just like you have the idea that 40 hours is enough. It's not enough. Everybody's working 60 plus hours. So I know that's what I have to do. It's like I gotta put my foot forward and be determined to work 60 plus hours. My nephew was working doubles. So it was like, if he could do it, I know I could do it as well. So I just can't keep saying 40 hours is enough. And then I'm putting the responsibility and the pressure of trying to have my independence living by myself, and then not seeing that I don't want to be a failure. So maybe sometimes I tend to turn that. I tend to turn to selling drugs to make extra money. But I can't keep doing that because I can't put my independence over my freedom. I can't do that.
When you were arrested, you had $15,600 in your apartment.
Yes.
Did you have to forfeit that?
Yes, I did. Yes.
That's a lot of money. Were you using that money to help support yourself?
Yeah, support myself.
To make ends meet.
Yeah, I was support myself. I was working at the time too. I was working $10 an hour. I started off at $10 an hour, but I had bills. I had like this a boatload of bills. So it's like I just tried to work the $10 an hour, but I was only at 30 hours, 32 hours, 40 hours. I should have been working more hours. But right now, what's great is that the increase in wages and pay raises is went up to $15. Some places is hiring at $17. Some places $20. So that's good. So I respect that part as far as like the economy with the inflation. You need that type of pay rate right now.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think it's struggle. Who are you supporting in the community besides yourself?
I had, family. I had my daughter. Sometimes it's, help out friends here and there, things of that nature, but mainly just me, my daughter, and like a good friend of mine that was, down and out. Once in a while, I help him out.
So have you ever looked at your prior record? Because I count 8 prior drug charges for sale charges. And you've been at this since you were 22.
Right.
Right. I mean, you're 46 now.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely time for change. Enough is enough. I got to show maturity. I got to show growth.
Yeah, there's definitely, you're only 46, so let's put it that way. So there's definitely an opportunity for change, an opportunity to change the trajectory of your life, because it does seem to me that your fallback is selling drugs and that you can do jail time standing on your head. So it really doesn't have that much of an impact.
It's crazy. It's two worlds that I don't want to live in. I'd rather be free though. Like I don't rather like if you look at it, like you're right. If you look at my record, it's only for selling drugs. That's the only thing on my record. If I eliminate that, I don't come to jail. So that's just the common sense of it.
So you were on special parole and you were struggling financially. Did you try to ask your parole officer if there was any assistance you could get, or talk to somebody about how you felt like you were slipping back into this bad life, troubled lifestyle again?
No, at the job I was at, I was trying to show my initiative and my ambition. I was trying to get a better position. So when I'm talking to the lady at the job, because it was a higher pay rate. It was like $22 to $25 an hour. So I was like, I want to do that right there. So as I'm training, to get that better position, I feel like I was already there. Like I keep asking them, like, yo, I want to get that position, because I felt that pay was way better for me, because I was only making $10 an hour than when I got hired through the company, because I started off at the temp agency. The company gave me $13 an hour, but the job that I wanted was making $22, $25 an hour. But they wanted me to keep doing material handling, so I did material handling. I was working my department and material handling. So the people in the job was like, don't sell yourself short. You're doing 2 jobs and you're only getting paid for one. But to me, I was managing both of the jobs. I didn't mind it. I just wanted to show them that I could handle this job by I was removing molds, putting molds in, and setting the machines up. So I want to be a setup guy, because like I said, they was making the $20 to $24, $25 an hour, but they just kept prolonging it and delaying me, saying that they still wanted me to work material handling. But everybody in the company said I was doing a great job at it. So I was figuring, like, why can't I just get to being a setup? That's what I wanted to be, the setup guy.
I hear you. It sounds like, maybe you felt like you weren't being treated fairly. Yeah. So are you working at the facility?
Now I had a job at the last facility. I was doing the trash run, but I put in for this. I put in for this facility, but the line is so long. Line is too
Okay.
long. Like I said, I don't have an issue working. That's not the issue.
All right. So you completed the Voices program, you completed the Tier 2 program. I'm gonna guess you've probably done those programs before.
Nah, I did voices.
No?
I did tier 2 before. I never did voices before.
Okay. All right. Did you learn anything new in the Tier 2 program?
Yeah, just the responsibility. I have empathy. I know my wrongs. I know like everybody's a victim as far as like it's hurting not only myself, it's hurting the other person, it's hurting people's families, it's hurting the community. So it's just having empathy to know that whatever I do is trickle down to everybody else being a victim as well too.
Sure. Right. Those are the characteristics of that program. That's what we want you to take from that. Have you thought about how you'll change your thinking when you're out in the community, so that you don't fall back into this pattern of selling drugs again when you get discouraged?
Absolutely. I feel like my thinking pattern is way more different far as it's known enough, like just to put it in a nutshell, enough is enough. Like you said, I'm 46 years old. That is young, but it is old though. So how many times could I want to do something that's leading me right back to jail till I'm 60 years old next time? If that's the case, I don't want to do that. My mom is out there. She's 82 years old. My daughter's out there. She's 22 now. I got family and friends. I don't want to keep missing out of their lives. To be honest with you, I lost two of my aunts since I've been incarcerated, and I don't want to be incarcerated and lose my mom on a you know what I mean, by backsliding or relapsing, doing the same thing that could bring me back to jail. I'm not thinking of that no more. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to live that lifestyle no more.
Davis?
Okay. All right, Mr. Davis, I appreciate you answering all my questions and your thoughtful responses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Davis, how old are you?
46,
Are you sure? When's your date of birth?
1977.
Yeah. What's your date of birth?
Oh, 3.
That makes you 47.
47, yeah, 47.
Okay. I just want to make sure you knew how old you were because you
Yeah,
kept
yeah.
saying 46.
Yeah, this.
And you don't have a drug problem, right?
No.
Why did you take tier 4 during your last incarceration?
Just to learn things, like just to learn, because it's part of a, like selling drugs could be part of an addiction as well too though. It could be an addiction, like the lifestyle, the clothing, whatever. It's part of an addiction.
Yeah. All right. I was just curious. All right. Give us a few minutes to talk about your case. We're going to deliberate and we'll give you our decision shortly. Okay. Ms. Palmieri.
I got to tell you, I don't really even know what to do with Mr. Davis. He's on special. He's got 8 prior convictions for sales. He's on special parole for sale.
And he was on special parole the last sales that he got too.
Yes, he's been back and forth and back and forth and
high risk, low stakes.
Exactly. Exactly. $15,000 in his apartment. Not that that's anything that we don't expect to see, but
yeah,
you know,
he didn't need to keep selling with that kind of money.
Took some good programs, and I keep going back to, you know, he is just selling drugs because it's easier.
Yeah.
So I do not have Mr. Davis voted to parole today.
All right, Mr. Paul.
So I hear what Mr. Davis is saying about being able to have a job that sustains himself. However, it's like, you know, it's shoveling against the tide when you continue to catch charges, convictions, and, you know, the employers out there are only so understanding, you know. But you know, he was headed in the right direction with the employment that he had this last time.
Yeah.
You know, he's on special parole until 2032.
Right.
You know, he's parole eligible. he just became parole eligible. Dual supervision might do him well.
So I don't see the need to hold him for another 3 years.
Right.
There's nothing for him to do. So it would strictly be punitive because he's done the programs. He did get an excellent evaluation from the Voices program. I mean, you know, it could be that he's telling us what he thinks we want to hear, of course, but I do believe that he's tired. I mean, you'd have to be with a record like this and coming in and out and violating over and over. You know, the history's there, but he's nonviolent, and we can only hope that he's learned from all of his mistakes. And, you know, I think he knows by now that if he messes up again, he's just going to come right back because he's violated his special parole, and regular parole works the same way. We got support letters. I forgot to mention that. We did not have a phone number for your nephew, so we couldn't call him. So, you know, he would parole to a halfway house, but I'd be willing to give him yet another opportunity. Halfway house, yeah, that's it, if it's needed, of course.
Yeah.
In the matter of David Davis, amendment number 317744. I'll make a motion to grant parole effective today, April 24th, 2024, with the additional condition of a halfway house. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
So it's a majority decision. If you come up with a sponsor, you know, you can let your parole officer know and they'll look into it. But for now, we'll put a halfway house in case you need it. Okay.
All right.
Go out there, go to work. You know what you have to do. Just do it.
Absolutely. That's what I'm going to do. This. Nah, that's if I eliminate selling drugs, I don't come back to jail, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not selling drugs anymore.
But you know what's going to happen if you come back on special parole on probation with another drug still charge, right?
Parole, yeah, and special parole, yeah.
It's not going to happen next time. You know.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
This concludes this parole hearing for Mr. David Davis, 317744.
What conditions did you talk?
I took halfway house.
The next gentleman, Mr. Davis. Good luck to
Okay,
you.
doing that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Officer, do you have a minute for him? Thank you.
Gosh, I mean, it's pretty amazing. He had a good interview. It is interesting that he has no violent offenses. He has nothing on his record except for maybe being the worst drug dealer that we've seen here. I mean, how do you get caught 8 times for dealing? You're on special parole for dealing, and you get caught again. It's something I just can't understand. It's like, do you really think you're going to get away with it? And it seems like he might even be one of those dealers that doesn't use his product, that he's got like, you know, energy and ambition. And like, he's talking about working all these hours and, you know, being addicted to the dealing aspect, which seems what it is. But there's one thing I can't understand, which is those dealers that just get caught so often. I mean, what do you have, like close to 16 grand in his apartment? And that's a lot of money. And you would think after getting caught so many times that you would at least take the precaution to hide the cash. Now he might say, well, he had a couple $100 grand. That was what he left out there, you know, as the red herring. But I don't know. I don't know if we have any reason to give him the benefit of that doubt. It's something I never wrap my mind around. And there was a line I heard. Who said it? It was in one of the parole hearings. Someone said it. You're only as dumb. No, you're only as smart as your dumbest client. And in so many words, because you're selling your client, as in who you're dealing to, someone is going to rat on you. So the second you start dealing, you're already done. You're already on a clock. You already have, you know, it's just a matter of when, not if, you're going to get caught. And especially if you have all the magnifying glasses on, you're like, dude, I just don't get it. And then they're like, well, he's only got 3 more years on his sentence and he's already done all his programs. So what's the point of keeping him here if he hasn't done programs? And it's like, I don't know. Maybe the point is because he's dealing drugs to his neighborhood. Maybe his neighbors don't want him there. Maybe he's bringing down like you can't have it both ways. If you're in the justice system, it's like, do you believe that someone is always going to be there to take his place, and it doesn't make a difference whether he's out there dealing, someone else is going to be dealing, or do you not believe that? Like, you get what I'm saying? I know my mind's all over the place, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, if you, and maybe they don't believe that war on crime works at all, because you remove one dealer and those people who want the narcotics are going to find somewhere else to get it, right? And I don't know, but again, keep in mind 8 prior dealing convictions. In Louisiana, he would have been given a life sentence after 3 as an habitual offender. Now, I think that's a bad thing. I think habitual offender stuff is nuts. But on the other side of the spectrum, we have just this merry-go-round, what we see nonstop, where people just offend and 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 offend. And it's this cycle of insanity. And I guess you're just hoping that it will eventually change with him. I mean, his special parole date ends 2032. So they gave him a big special parole date. His maximum release date was 2027, so 3 years from now, like they said. He was sentenced in 2022, January 5th, 2022. Man, it was interesting about his age. But I'll give him a break on that, because I actually forget how old I am all the time. And not, like cutesy forget. I actually do forget, and I have to check. I think at a certain point, we just turn it off in our minds. Okay. So anyways, I don't have any other information to share with you on this. But Richard has in the notes, the buzzword is goal, a life coach and a realtor. And yeah, I forgot about the life coach thing. Imagine having a life coach who got arrested 8 times for dealing. I'd be like, really, bro? I mean, like, really? Ah, man. Anyways. With that, I'll let you go.
Reminded of that moment, I feel coercive rage, especially when having thanked him. I feel as if he mocked me, my pain, and the wound that will never heal. When I returned home and saw him on television, my world crumbled. I felt so awful that I was on the brink of losing my mind. It's a nightmare to know that someone like him walks freely among us. All of this caused me immense pain. It is not fair that he has freedom, even though I know nothing can bring back my son. Not even if he were to spend his entire life in prison, could that alleviate my suffering. All I ask is that he serve the full sentence, which does not even begin to reflect the crime he committed.